23. A loving husband, Brent was also a tireless volunteer, deeply committed to helping others, including 3 trips to the Bahamas in 2019 to support residents following Hurricane Dorian. This effort led Mark to logging more than 600 volunteer hours and being recognized as Aerojet Rocketdyne's 2019 Volunteer of the Year. Brent was kind and generous and a role model to many people. He will be missed. George Lucian began his career in 1960 as an electrical systems engineer with the General Dynamics Corporation, following his time at the University of Nebraska, where he earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics. In 1964, after working at the General Electric Company on the Apollo program, George began a new chapter at the Goddard Space Flight Center, followed by a move to the Kennedy Space Center. During his NASA career, George was an engineer, branch chief, division chief, and assistant launch manager, all in support of NASA's Expendable Launch Vehicle Services program. His career spanned 60 years and more than 400 launches. George was an invaluable team member, a mentor to many, and a true friend to all.
T-minus 5 minutes.
This is Delta Mission Control at T-minus 418. We anticipate entering the hold in just a few moments.
T-minus 4 minutes and holding. This is a 15-minute built-in hold.
LC switch to not ready position.
Since 1960, Delta rockets have been an integral part of America's space program. The on-orbit assets it has launched have improved life across the globe. Let's take a look.
Following more than 60 years lifting historic missions to space and becoming a pillar in American rocketry, the Delta program is coming to a close with its final launch. Here's a look back at some of the groundbreaking firsts and iconic missions launched on Delta rockets. Delta quickly established its record of excellence in the 1960s, launching Echo, the world's first communication satellite, Tyros, the first space-based weather observatory, and NASA's Pioneer and Explorer scientific spacecraft. The introduction of the Delta II rocket on Valentine's Day 1989 ushered in the GPS era, and a capability that improves life on Earth every day, from navigation to banking, agriculture, and beyond. The beloved Delta II earned its place in history with 155 flights, with 8 of those missions to Mars for NASA, including the Spirit and Opportunity rovers. The Delta program's commitment to vehicle improvement to meet customer needs culminated in the Delta IV family of launch vehicles with a wide range of increased capabilities. Delivering missions for the Space Force, National Reconnaissance Office, NASA, and commercial clients, every Delta IV launch has been successful. As America's trusted heavy lifter, the triple-barreled Delta IV Heavy launched the first Orion spacecraft on an uncrewed shakedown cruise and sent the Parker Solar Probe to surf the atmosphere of the Sun. The 16th and final flight of the Delta IV Heavy rocket carries NROL-70, capping off the incredible legacy of this program.
The Delta program has been an important part of many of our employees' careers. We recently spoke with employees about what the Delta rocket has meant to them.
We started this program with the tremendous task of continuing the Delta mission success tradition.
It has been the heavy lift workhorse, supporting the missions that no other vehicle could, and have made a tremendous difference for this nation.
The assets that we launch with Delta are crucial to our warfighter and have really allowed us to sustain our capability, not only in space, but also just on the ground and keeping the entire world in a better place.
That ability to impact the nation in what we can do, our technologies, as well as our reach into space. It's just an honor. There's no other way to say it.
Look at what we, as part of the team, have done to improve life on Earth. All things to be extremely proud of.
The first launch, you kind of kept your fingers crossed and your toes crossed. We all stood out in the main part of the factory here and watched it, and it's just something that you do and say whatever makes you comfortable for that very first launch.
Watching the Delta IV Heavy right outside the door of the Delta Operations Center and feeling the vibration and just amazement.
I was at the launch site in the dock for the NRL 26 mission, and the experience when that thing lifted off of the acoustics, hitting that facility and literally seeing the windows flexing from the acoustics of that liftoff was something I will never forget.
I've been down to the launch site, been on the pad, been on cranes up and down a heavy vehicle, been able to support on console, and been part of the day of launch activities. So I've seen it from a unique perspective. Those memories will always stick out.
We took a lot of lessons from Delta. Aluminum skins, machined, brake formed, welded together with friction stir welding. The first time we used that was on the Delta IV program.
One lesson learned from Delta IV that will stick for our future launches is our record of mission success and our focus on mission success, making sure that all of our launches accomplished what we wanted and delivered the payload for our customers.
The teamwork that we built across all the different suppliers and across the program itself, it's a really complex vehicle. And so being able to bring that whole team together and deliver Delta for that many years has been brought over into the Vulcan program and will continue to live on.
Whether it be in the design center, the operations center, the production center, we're all a big team, and those teams work together, and it's magic.
Launch conductor is only one little cog in the whole process. This is a team sport, and the team has done nothing but a phenomenal job.
Taking pride in your work and treating everything as if it's the most important job you'll ever do is something that I will keep with me for the rest of my career.
Well, it's bittersweet, of course. We all thought we could do this a lot longer because we love it so much.
It's been a wonderful rocket to work on over these years, and I'm going to miss it.
It is the most amazing rocket I could ever imagine, this Delta IV Heavy.
I'm just proud to have been a part of this team and was able to better my career by working alongside an amazing team.
The legacy of Delta will live on in the Vulcan rocket and in the people that make it a reality and have taken the best of what Delta has accomplished and carry that forward into the future.
After liftoff, the Delta IV Heavy will head east from Space Launch Complex 37. Here's a look at today's ascent.
To mitigate the fireball created by the hydrogen-burning Delta IV Heavy rocket, the staggered engine start sequence begins with ignition of the launch table HBOs, burning off the excess hydrogen injected into the flame duct. Next, the starboard Delta IV Rofi lights, igniting its RS-68A engine. Then, the center and port RS-68A engines ignite to generate more than 2.1 million pounds of total thrust to lift the 1.6 million pound triple-core rocket off the pad. Shortly after liftoff, Delta begins a pitchover to attain the proper flight path while minimizing the pressure the vehicle experiences during flight. Delta then reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound, followed by the rocket reaching maximum dynamic pressure as it travels through Earth's atmosphere. With propellant depleted in the port and starboard boosters, the engine shut down and the boosters jettisoned to shed their weight. The remaining booster engine then throttles to full power to maximize performance against gravity losses. Once propellant levels deplete in the center booster, the engine shuts down and the booster is jettisoned from the second stage. The vehicle now weighs approximately 6% of what it did at liftoff. Following jettison of the center booster, the Delta Cryogenic Second Stage, or DCSS, main engine ignites. During ascent, NROL-70 is protected inside a 5-meter diameter metallic payload fairing. After traveling through the densest part of Earth's atmosphere, the payload fairing is jettisoned. The Delta IV Cryogenic Second Stage carries the last payload to launch on a Delta IV rocket to its final orbital destination, where it will begin its national security mission.
As we continue the countdown to launch, let's head back over to Ben Chilton on the Causeway.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm currently joined by a number of people who are very excited to watch the last liftoff of this magnificent rocket. We're about 1.5 miles from Slick 37, and when we reach T0, it'll take about 8 seconds for the sound to reach us, though we'll already be able to see Delta lifting off the pad. Currently, the weather conditions look great for launch, but I'll pass it back to you, Andrea, for the Space Launch Delta weather forecast for today.
Thanks, Ben. The forecast for this afternoon's launch is looking good. The probability of violating launch constraints is 10%. Ground winds are 14 to 22 knots out of the southeast, and the temperature is 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Our primary concerns for launch today are ground winds and the cumulus crowd rule violation.
RLM, verified red line monitor and vent table are in the correct configuration per terminal count. Verified. L-minus 9 minutes. Performing a hold authority comm check. LSIC RF. Loud and clear. Loud and clear as well. ATD. ATD copies loud and clear. Loud and clear as well. Comm check complete. Launch on time verified. Roger. LC switch to ready position. All steps are complete prior to the status check. Minus 8 minutes.
We remain in the planned 15-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, launch conductor Scott Barney will pull the launch team for the final go to pick up the count. 28 engineers and managers are pulled for system status and readiness to proceed. This is the final status check for all Delta vehicle systems, ground systems, spacecraft, and the U.S. Space Force Eastern Range. The vehicle system readiness pull includes electrical systems, hydraulics, pneumatics, propulsion systems, flight control, and propellants. Let's listen in as Scott Barney performs the final pulling.
Minus 7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. First stage systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulics. Go. Locks. Go. LH2. Go. Second stage systems, locks. Go. LH2.
Go.
Electrical systems, airborne. Go. Ground. Go. Facility. Go. RFFTS. Go. Flight control. Go. COM. Go. GCQ.
Go.
Operations support. Go. Pneumatics. Go. Umbilicals. Go. HASGAS. Go. ECS.
Go.
Red line monitor. Go. Mechanical engineering advisor. Go. Quality.
Go.
Op Safety Manager.
Go.
ULA Safety Officer.
Go.
Vehicle System Engineer.
Go.
Anomaly Chief.
Go.
Range Coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch Director.
Launch vehicle is ready to launch.
Mission Director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count.
Element 6.
ALC Verify T0 is set for 1653 Zulu.
Verified.
Polling is
MEQ
complete
established
and the
swing arm
team
lock
is
pins
go
full.
for launch. From T-minus 4 minutes until liftoff, you'll hear Scott Barney and the team performing the final steps in the countdown procedure. Several critical activities occur in the final minutes before launch, including verifying fuel tank levels and pressures in the 3 boosters and DCSS, in addition to arming the flight termination system. At T-minus 1 minute, the Range Operations Commander confirms the range is in a green condition for launch. At T-minus 15 seconds, the launch table HBOs at the base of the rocket are ignited to burn off excess hydrogen. At T-minus 7 seconds, the starboard engine is ignited. At T-minus 5 seconds, the port and center engines are ignited. Once the Delta IV Heavy lifts off, you'll hear flight commentator Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
TD Verify SV Configure for launch.
TD on net 1, SV configure for launch.
Roger.
TD out.
Swing arm lock pins pulled. Roger. All steps are complete prior to terminal count.
This is Delta Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. We anticipate releasing the hold in just a few moments.
T-minus 4 minutes and counting. Minus 355.
Ground pyros enabled.
350.
The countdown clock is resumed and we are go for launch at 12:53 p.m. Eastern. With liftoff approaching, we're raising the volume on our launch team so you can hear the final preps taking place.
Minus 332. $325.
Second stage lock, secure at flight level.
Minus 307. Minus 249.
FTS internal.
CBC locks at flight pressure and flight level.
T-minus 2 minutes. The rocket, payload, ground systems, and eastern range are go for launch.
Vehicle internal. Launch sequencer start.
If you just joined us, I'm Andrea Lenhoff.
CBC
I'm your
LH2
host for the final Delta launch today. Liftoff is currently scheduled for 12:53 p.m. Eastern.
SCS launch enabled. FTS armed.
Minus 120.
OCUs armed. SCS count started.
T-minus 1 minute.
Go for main engine
T-minus
start.
1 minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
Minus 50.
Second stage LH2 secure at flight level.
Minus 30.
Status check. Go Delta. Go NROL 70.
Minus 15.
Rope ignition.
10.
T-minus
Disregard.
10,
8,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5. We have ignition. 2, 1.
Lift off.
And liftoff of the final United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket, carrying NROL 70 for the National Reconnaissance Office and closing Delta's 6-decade legacy of excellence in space.
Is at min power level. Port and starboard strap-on still operating at enhanced power level.
You are hearing the voice of Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Parameters look good. Flight control surfaces look good. And we have fired the isolation pyro valve on second stage reactor control system. First step in readying that system for operation. Continue to look good. And we passed through Mach 1 and Mach 2. Normal strips there, everything looks good. All three strips operating as expected. Operating as expected. Everything looks good. And we fired the pyro valve, pressurizing the reactor control system on the second stage. Pressure's coming up. Everything looks good there. What we're looking for is going to closed loop guidance. Kept it 3 or 4 seconds. And we've started closed loop guidance. Vehicle maneuvering as expected. All 3 engines continue to look good. And we are 3 minutes to Corbico. And the vehicle is now 1.5 its liftoff weight. All 3 engines operating normally, everything looking good. And the vehicle's now 29 nautical miles in altitude. 64 miles downrange, traveling at 5,300 miles per hour. Everything continues to look good. And we've just passed through the Kármán line, reaching 100 kilometers in altitude. Everything looking good. 2 minutes to Corbico.
Coming up on throttle down on the strap-ons. And we've begun throttling down the strap-on boosters in preparation for cutoff. We've now achieved min-power level on the strap-ons. And cutoff. We have cutoff port and starboard boosters coming up on strap-on, and we have strap-on separation. Disturbances look good. Throttled up the core booster. We're now at EPL on the single stage booster. And we've re-enabled steering following separation of the strap-ons. Everything looking good.
We just heard confirmation of port and starboard booster jettison. We have about a minute and a half until we reach our next mission event, booster engine cutoff.
On the RL-10. One minute, core BECO. Yeah, housing temps respond as expected on the RL-10, and we've started LH2 boost phase chill down. Housing temps responding as expected. Flight control disturbances are small, and the core RS-68 continues to operate as expected. About 20 seconds to our next mark event, throttling down the core booster in preparation for BECO. And core booster is throttling down, coming up on booster engine cutoff. And we have BECO. Cut off on the booster, everything looking good. And state preparation occurred right as expected. NEDs have deployed. And we have pre-start, start, and full thrust. RL-10 is up and running normally. Everything looking good. Enabled steering of the second stage. Second stage operating normally. Coming up on bearing separation. About 10 seconds away from fairing sep. Five seconds to fairing sep, and we have fairing separation. Disturbances look good. Upper stage is operating normally. And once again, steering has been re-enabled after the separation event.
This is Delta Mission Control at T plus 6 minutes and 55 seconds. We just heard flight commentator Rob Gannon confirm the successful completion of the early phase of today's flight, and all systems continue to operate nominally. While the mission has just begun, we did just see liftoff of the last Delta rocket. Here's ULA President and CEO Tori Bruno.
Well, good afternoon. A lot of you know that the Delta IV Heavy is, of course, the most metal of all rockets, setting itself on fire before it blasts into space. But I also want to talk about its tremendous contribution to our nation, to exploration, to national security. The Delta IV Heavy still today flies missions that no other rocket can fly. Soon, Vulcan